Welcome to episode 50. We got a good one. Loel Campbell of Wintersleep stops by. Sean Conohan of the Uptalk podcast. And finally, Leben, UFC superstar and legend. As always, thanks to our sponsors of Privateer Harley-Davidson and Conway Customs. Episode 50. John Foster, how are you, my man?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back after a couple nights off.
Yes, I bet it was, you lazy bastard.
Yeah, that's right. I appreciate the time, brother.
No, you're a good man. You're very, very busy, and I appreciate having you back. So welcome back, everyone. Welcome to episode 50, a 50th goddamn episode. You know, that tells you I've been in quarantine for a long time, but, you know, you couldn't do it without our sponsors, obviously, Conway Customs, Privateer Harley-Davidson. Thanks to them. And we got a great episode lined up tonight, John.
We do, man. I'm excited for this one. I mean, 50 is a big number.
Yeah,
congratulations on getting there, man. I mean,
teamwork.
You did the majority of these on your own, so it's big, man. It's huge. It's really cool.
That's it.
And
yeah, it
is. Good lineup. I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, it is. Tonight's a great episode. 3 different guests. First of all, we have Loel Campbell from Wintersleep, a guy I've been following a hell of a long time. He probably has no idea that I've been following him, but he supported us kind of in the back for charity events I have done, and such a talented musician who's involved in a few different bands, but obviously most notably Wintersleep, and a Nova Scotian native. So it'll be really cool to chat with him to see what's kind of going on with this whole COVID thing, how it's affecting musicians and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, man. Very cool.
Yeah, it is. And then we got Sean Conohan, of course, from the PTSD Uptalk podcast, focusing on mental health and PTSD, which is a dear friend of yours. And I had PTSD, so it's a great topic to cover here tonight. And I'll try not to cry. So for real.
Do your best, bro.
That's it. And then from there, we'll go to Leben. You know, the man needs no introduction, obviously, UFC superstar, legend. Pretty cool to have him on the show.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for this. Leben's
awesome. Well, let's get into it.
Legendary. Yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, it is. All right, well, let's bring him up, folks, with no further introduction needed. From Wintersleep and several other bands, the drummer, a Pictou County and Nova Scotia native, Loel Campbell. How are you, my man?
Hey.
Awesome. Good. Thanks again for joining us.
No problem. My pleasure.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, so you're hanging out back. We were speaking a little bit here before we went live. Obviously, with the whole COVID thing, you were on the road. How's it been affecting you?
Well, I don't know. Like, I've kind of spent the last 18 years or so on the road, pretty much. So, it's like a big giant pause button.
True.
Everything. We had a lot of stuff booked, obviously, coming into the summer festival season and stuff like that, and everything's been canceled or postponed till October at this point. Which obviously, that's just what has to happen. I think, concerts and live events, as you guys know, will be it'll take a while to get those gatherings back. So. Yeah. I'm just making the best of it. I have a place in Montreal that I've lived in Montreal for like 12 years off and on, and I've been back here a lot in Pictou County a lot over the past 3 years. So I've just found a really nice spot that I'm super comfortable in, and I've brought in all the equipment that I have down here, and I'm just kind of remotely carrying on with my musical life as it was, even it's not really any performance live based stuff, but I'm all set up to keep creative.
Yeah, it's so important. I've seen your Instagram posts. I've been following you there, and you're keeping busy, whether it's photography or walking on the beach or getting new arrivals from Montreal or buying new stuff to keep it going. And I notice other people in your band doing the same thing, and a lot of bands are keeping busy that way, whether it's doing online concerts or whatever you kind of have to do. And it's hard times, man, for musicians, especially.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, kind of, you can kind of try to figure out some new ways to connect with people, figure out some new avenues. And, I'm acquiring some more stuff to kind of make that happen, like with drums and stuff like that. Might be a good time to freshen up on my Adobe Premiere skill. Get some of those editing chops back. But
Yeah.
but that's all good. It's like it's kind of for me, anyways. I can say that. I mean, it's like it's I kind of am embracing the time, because usually, given the opportunity, I'm
always busy.
Able to stay on the road all the time. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think John's having some issues here, and I'm just going to pull him out. But the hell with him. But we'll bring him back. Sometimes he just has a little issues. John, can you hear us again?
I can hear you.
Hey, can you hear me?
I just can't hear Lowell.
Oh no.
Well, I'm going to take you right out, John. Maybe you can come right back in on your own. Either way, it doesn't matter, John. There you go. Come on out. Go back in. You're throwing off the momentum here. But I think for coming from a person like you, you're a professional musician. That's your life. You're on the road all the time, and you're busy as shit. You're doing stuff like this, a podcast. You're doing interviews, live shows, meeting fans, put in the studio, whatever the hell it is, nonstop. So this is probably, like you said, it's probably actually a nice break.
Yeah, it's been giving me time to kind of organize some old ideas that I've had.
Nice. Welcome back.
And you know what I mean? Like things like I have so many voice memos that I've been collecting since the iPhone kind of came along, and I had that like immediate way to record ideas. That's the thing, you can just keep going over and over on ideas, and or keep creating new ones. So it's giving me time to go back. I'm like still in like 2010 to 2012
nice
of just kind of like going through ideas that I had back then, and figuring out if they're still worth finishing and stuff like that. So it's been a cool like process, and I had to get a new iPhone recently,
nice.
The other one was pooched, and the camera on it's awesome. So I've been really kind of into documenting my exploration of the area that I'm.
Yes, I noticed that a lot.
Yeah, so that's been super. So that I would never do that otherwise either. So there's looking on the sunny side.
Yeah, but that's John. If you're just catching up here, we were talking about Lowell. Like how being a musician, you're on the road all the time. This is a time now where he can actually kind of focus on other things and like just maybe not have guys like us bugging him to do podcasts. But
there has been blessings as far as free time and time to do some things that have been on the list for a while.
Yeah,
it's been fantastic in that sense.
Yeah, there's no excuse to not get caught up with anything.
Yeah. And I think, you're a musician. I think in general, there's going to be a lot of art produced during this time.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just for that time to kind of, look back and, finish some old ideas and obviously generate some new, there's some new, world out there, right?
So
a lot of new takes, a lot of new narratives that can be adapted into many, interesting forms.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Actually, a lot of writing material for sure.
The movies over the next couple of years will be interesting.
Exactly. The pandemic. The different. Romantic pandemic.
What happened? What didn't happen?
Yeah, the doom pandemic. The pandemic.
Did you see that movie, The Plandemic? I haven't seen this. I saw it all over social media. I didn't watch it. But.
No, I haven't. I've seen. I kind of know like the gist of it, and the back and forth between people.
Yes, I don't even know the whole. I just didn't even tone into it. I was like, no, I'm not going there because
it seems like something to kind of maybe if you can avoid, it might be for the best because it can. I think it could probably get into your head. Get a bit of a wormhole going. I think
1,000 of those to go down.
I think it's been scrubbed from the internet already. Actually.
I heard that actually.
There's something on Netflix. There's a program on Netflix that basically.
Yeah, it's called Pandemic. I think
that's not what you were talking about. It's
a different one. I think
conspiracy one. But apparently it's just like pretty much like
the movie Pandemic follows our timeline pretty closely. It's just a lot more lethal, I guess, right?
Did you watch it, John?
I did, yeah. When we got on quarantine, I was upset doing myself and watching Pandemic.
Oh boy.
Sounds like a fun night.
Did that
it was good. Yeah.
Does it have any sort of is it pretty serious? It's like a
in the movie it's absolutely serious, but it originates in China, and I
really
shows like the wet market as the origin, and it jumps over in America and kills people and
isn't that
children and all that.
It's pretty spooky, eh?
It is, because it was eerily spooky about how close it was, and this came out a couple years ago or whatever, right? So
yeah.
It is spooky.
Wild.
I think,
it's like a Simpsons episode or something.
Yeah, it's like some Black Mirror type shit, right?
Yeah.
They predicted this ages ago. Matt Damon saves us.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad to be in Nova Scotia, though. I mean, like it's you look at some of the stuff, in New York City, and some of these epicenters are just it's exactly like that. It's like total just crazy. Unimaginable what's transpiring in those places.
Well, times what we're dealing with by 1,000.
Yeah, I lived in cities for a hell of a long time too. Like Loel's saying, and I think I would do the exact same thing. I'd be back home. Like I'd be, I worked on cruise ships for a long time too, like 7 years.
Oh, and wow!
A long time.
I've never been on a cruise ship, but you can put yourself right there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was on there when Norwalk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was quarantined. I was taken off the ship for Disney. I was taken off it. We had security guard on our floor at the hotel, but it wasn't like this. I was like 20, I was probably wasted drunk going into the hotel. Like I was 23. I didn't know. You just don't care, right? And it's foolish. But yeah, so I think of like that, and like cruise ships are super clean, really clean. Like they're always washing everything all the time, right?
Yeah. It's a luxurious experience to see it degrade from this kind of penultimate kind of luxurious kind of way to vacation to like something that is just like hell on water.
Totally. And if you think about it, like it's probably I look at it too. Is it coming through the air? They say it's not airborne, but like. Man, just spread like wildfire. Unless there's a giant orgies going on the ship. I don't know. Who knows?
Possible.
Very possible.
There's probably a cruise for that, actually.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably the theme.
Welcome to the 70s and 80s swinging orgy. Yeah. Let's remind everyone not to go on that one.
The Caribbean orgy.
So, Loel, one thing about you guys have been like, for one of your bands, obviously Wintersleep. Longevity, man. You guys have been at it for a long time. Not a lot of bands can stick together that long, but more importantly, you've never sold out. Is that kind of the why, you think?
Well, I don't know. We've kind of navigated things with kind of through our gut and hearts, and trying to be loyal to people, and kind of not compromise in going into some situation where we would kind of give up some end of some executive say or whatever, but I don't know, like it's I guess we're coming up on 20 years next year, so that's pretty nuts. I mean, obviously there's it's a long and windy road, and peaks and valleys, but it's I think end of the day we're still up for exploring music together. I think everybody's continues to grow, and kind of every record we have, like I think it's a progression. It's still, I don't think we keep tripping over our feet nonetheless. And I think when we do see like the down, some valleys, we're inspired to kind of like learn from the past, and try to make something great and new again. It's like it's a great challenge, and I don't think we'll ever give up on it.
Nice.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, like John, we're obviously we're not professional musicians, but I look at whether you call it a fight promoter, realistically what you are is you're an event planner. That's really what you just happen to deal with. Music they call a promoter too, but there's a shit ton of pressure that comes with what you do, man. Like,
Mhm.
like you say, there's a lot of ego in music. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and to stay together, you respect one another, growing as artists, which probably makes you tighter, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it all takes effort to keep it together. So I think that effort is,
Yeah.
I respect. Obviously, there's a mutual respect happening there between all of us, and yeah, it's it's crazy thinking of all we've been through, and but it's just like any other line of work,
Yeah.
or, with there's growing pains and
Yeah.
pitfalls and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, we're still going strong. I mean, obviously not going strong at the moment because all of our gears are kibosh, but we're still making plans, and how to work through this, and because we were pretty much ready to make another record right when this happened too. Like, we were planning on taking all of April to kind of fine tune the last bit of writing and demoing new songs. So we have like a huge batch of tunes to pick from. So now it's how do we keep the momentum going through this? But I've as you mentioned, I've acquired some other things, some other pieces of gear to keep things happening remotely, so I can get a good drum sound on like anywhere basically, and yeah, just kind of keep the work and the movement on the songs going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important, man. It's like it's like a fighter too, eh, John? Like,
Oh,
Oh,
totally.
100%. Yeah. I mean, finding a workaround to keep things moving is
Yeah.
imperative. Thankfully, we have the technology we do these days. Like, say it over and over again. If we didn't have Wi-Fi and Netflix and Zoom and, what we're doing here now, like, it'd be a lot different.
Totally. I was hanging out with I don't know if you guys know Katie McDonald. It's Brady McDonald's aunt. Brady McDonald.
I don't know Katie. No,
Yeah. Well,
Brady, who fought on our card.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was wasn't around for that, but both Katie and her husband Sean are good friends of mine that live in the area that I'm staying in. So
Cool.
I'm able to like comfortably distance with them from time to time, and so I get all the updates about Brady and stuff. And I guess he's generally like training in California a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And,
he does.
but I was asking Katie because I was interested in that too. Like, how do you keep how do you keep it going and improving when you don't have that immediate challenge, somebody pushing you, or
Oh, it's absolutely more difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
having someone in front of you, like me and Derek have talked about this and joked about this a bunch of times. Like, your cardio really suffers when somebody's not attacking you all the time. Like, we're in the
Yeah.
gym having someone trying to either strangle or hit us several days a week, and then that goes to nothing. So then it's like, all right, I got to get on a bike, or I got to get on the treadmill, or I got to go for a run outside. It's not the same. It's
Yeah.
a lot harder to go from what we're used to that.
Really not, since I don't do
Keep the
it.
patient.
The
see how hard it is?
Yeah. Something that I was thinking about is, it's like what you mentioned, that direct, that kind of like response, that instinct that you have to, that you're drawing upon, and like, your sharpness and responses to things. And keeping up on that, I'm sure there'll be interesting ways to kind of like further develop that. And it's just about staying on the path of where you want to be, I guess. But
yeah, it's going to be very obvious when we get back to the fight gyms, especially of who's been training or keeping their fitness level up during quarantine, and who's been chilling. Like, that's going to be.
But I'm sure that would
apparent.
be similar to you as a band, right? Like, the first time you get back together, you'll be. I'm sure you'll be able to tell, like, no, you're not playing,
Yeah. No, yeah. When it all comes back, it's going to be like, I was talking with Paul from Wintersleep about that last week. I was just talking about some of these new songs, and just so you get excited about some new songs that that will fit right into the set, like, because a lot of tunes, obviously we got like 8 albums now or something. We can't play everything every night, but you get those staples and you kind of know it. So we were talking about this one new song that we're working on, and just the excitement of like being able to play that live for the first time. It's just going to be overwhelming. I was just like said that I think I'm going to melt or combust at that moment.
Yeah, well, it's true, man. Like it's like you see those memes going, "Hey, John," like if people when the gyms are open or whatever. Like,
Oh
just,
yeah,
like,
100%.
yeah, people are going crazy. So we got to get going here, Lowell. We got a couple more guests, but I got to thank you so much for joining us, man. John, you got any final questions?
I don't, man. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting and just giving us your insight on everything, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Anytime, guys. Maybe we'll see you at 100.
Yeah, that's right. That's hopefully, you know,
I guess one question: do you guys have like a rough goal timeline for when the new album's going to come out?
I mean, originally it was fall, but hopefully we can work slowly piece it together through the fall.
Yeah.
Now. So yeah, probably earliest possible release would be next spring, I'd say, but I could imagine that turning into the fall.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool.
I think because shows might be back by then.
Yeah.
I hope so. It'd be nice to get out and tour the thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that brings me to one final question I got for you.
Yeah.
How do you handle it? Like going out and playing shows, man, in front of thousands and thousands of people. Like, how do you deal with it?
It's sometimes. Well, if you keep healthy, I mean, that's the big thing. As long as you're mindful of that, you're doing the right things for your body. Your biggest enemy is yourself, because you know, if you're not taking care of yourself, that makes anxiety worse, and you know, just about kind of like worrying about little things that are just so irrelevant on another day if you're not getting enough sleep or whatever like that. Like I can just convince myself that you know, that I'm you know, that I'll mess up something that I am so comfortable with, you know, like a master. Well, it just, the thought regularly doesn't enter my mind, but there's those times when you get burnt out on tour and you have to do the show, and you know, it always works out fine. I think at this point I'm like,
yeah, whatever, super
consistent, but nonetheless you can, your mind can so it's just about like, yeah, like getting the exercise in and eating right and taking your vitamins and getting 8 hours of sleep if you can. But that usually doesn't happen. But yeah, just kind of think like being mindful of it, not letting things which easily can happen on the road get away from you, you know. You know, at this point, you know, 36 now, so it's like not 25 anymore.
Done that.
I can't walk away from the wreck anymore.
I hear that.
Yeah. Well, I will, my friend, we'll leave it at that, but we'll leave some of those stories for another podcast. But man, it's I loved having you. It's an honor to have you join us.
Absolutely.
In the future, we can get you back, and good luck with everything. And if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Awesome. Love what you're doing. Congratulations on 50.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Big 50. There you have it, folks. Loel McDonald. Jesus Christ. Loel Campbell.
Very cool.
Newspaper messed me up the other day. We'll talk about that another time. Let's get into our second guest here, John.
Let's do it.
A buddy of yours, a great guy. I don't know him. I thought I knew him actually as a guy. I thought I worked at a summer camp with this guy, to be completely honest, and he worked on cars. But this is not the guy at all. Why don't you give us a great introduction to the man, Sean Conohan?
Sean Conohan, longtime friend of mine, part of Abaya way back, former EMT. Now he runs the Uptalk podcast, which he's been running for a few years. I'll let him get into that and how he was actually acquired by a larger podcast company and continues that on, talking about mental health and PTSD. Yeah, I mean, he's worked as a referee and a cutman in the game, and just a solid dude that's been really putting the work in to bring awareness to PTSD and mental health. And
awesome. I love that.
Yeah, man. Let's bring him on. Let's let him tell us
what
it's all about.
Here he is, Sean Conohan.
Boys, what's up?
How are you, sir? Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. What's good, Sean? It's been a minute, bro.
It's been way too long, brother. It's I'm up here in Fort McMurray. I work in the oil sands now, and it's been tough, obviously, with all this upside down foolishness going on. But I've been actually laid off for the last few weeks, but probably going back to work here next week, so that's good. But because of this, of course, I haven't been home since September of last year. I was supposed to come home in March, but then all this stuff happened, and just was too risky for me to fly home and possibly bring stuff home to the family, right? That I don't want to bring. So it's been tough, but it's a good lesson in routine and in wellness and, just being responsible, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. I mean, what's the whole scene like in Fort McMurray right now? There was a ton of layoffs, right?
Yeah, huge amount of layoffs. Almost all like contractors laid off. And then, of course, we're waiting for locusts now because then we had the flood. We had the big floods in Fort McMurray. Okay. So, which all happened all at once. And it's been brutal. Like that didn't affect me where I am, the floods, but the downtown was underwater and, it's just been crazy. It's been ridiculous, right?
It is crazy. Like it's here, there, all over the place. Shit just keeps piling up, it seems.
Yeah, it does. Totally.
2020, the year of no fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. For sure.
Yeah, pretty wild, man. I mean, yeah, that's crazy, man. And I'm sorry to hear you've been stuck up there for so long. And I had no idea. I knew you were going back and forth still, but I didn't realize you'd been
Thanks for bringing it up, John.
Marooned up there, yeah.
Thanks for hitting me with that again, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Here he is sitting down here in the forest, Sean, just relaxing.
I'm going to try to get you to cry on here. That's my goal, really.
Perfect. Excellent. Let's do it.
I've seen an Oprah interview.
It wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take much, probably.
Both of us, Sean. That brings me to a question, man. Like, again, I'm a guy who suffers from PTSD. I've had kind of some weird shit happen to me growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm not scared to talk about it. Long story short. Anyway, another story. But how did you get into whether you want to get into it deep or not? How did you get into what you're doing with the Uptalk podcast? Because it's a tremendous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I worked as a paramedic and firefighter in Nova Scotia for 17 years. Wow. And in 2014, I had to give that up. And soon after was diagnosed with PTSD because of that career, because of some things that I experienced through that career. So I found myself without a job, without an income, with no benefits. It was tough. So, once I sort of got my feet under me again, I wanted to try to educate myself, actually. That was my primary motivation about mental illness, about PTSD. Yeah. I was always a fan of podcasts. Obviously, grew up with the Joe Rogan podcast like many other people. Yeah. So I said, you know what? Well, screw it. Let's just see if we can do this myself. So sort of taught myself how to do it, had to teach myself how to sound edit. But that was in January of 2016 that I launched that because, again, I had no benefits. So I couldn't go get therapy. Mm-hmm. I couldn't afford therapy. However, I could have psychologists on my podcast for free and talk to them for an hour or two and be able to sort of get therapy that way for myself, but also hopefully help others.
So,
but I mostly have, first responder. It's first responder focused. However, I am careful. I sprinkle in some episodes that are not first responder based because it's important to remember, like you said, Derek, I mean, this is a human issue. It's not a first responder issue. It just so happens to hit us harder than the normal population, only because that's our job is to go into these traumatic events all day, every day. So, of course, it's going to be prevalent or more prevalent in our community, but it's not just affecting us. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty careful to make sure I remind everybody of that every once in a while. And, it's been a wild ride. We're in our 5th season now. And I've talked to some really cool people. Early on, I actually did a sports-related one where I had Michael Landsberg on and Theo Fleury, but also had Big Daddy Gary Goodrich on.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So, and that was a real eye-opener. I've always been a big fan of mixed martial arts. I was, attending Abaya early on when Rowan and Pat first started in Kentville. And I love the community. Unfortunately, unknowing to me at the time, I was probably really sick and injured at that time and couldn't get over that hump for the commitment needed to take part in that sport the way you should. Mm. I would freeze up. I'd want to go to class and I would freeze up at the house. And I start getting all these thoughts of, you shouldn't be in this. What are you doing this? You're going to embarrass yourself. Everybody's going to laugh at you. And I would freeze and I would cancel all the time. John knows this. Mm-hmm. I would cancel on a lot of stuff all the time. And that was why. But I love the mixed martial arts community, love Abaya. So I had Big Daddy Gary Goodrich on, and just to hear him speak, the trouble he was having speaking, the trouble he was talking about as far as even just getting out of bed and going through his daily life, just the toll that the repeated headshots have taken on him and his mental health it was eye-opening. It was it sat me back a little bit after listening to that. But I mean, I've been really lucky to have some really cool people on. I got to know Dr. Mike Hart, who's been on Joe Rogan. He's a really big plant-based physician here in Canada. I got to speak to Kristen Bell. That was kind of cool.
One sec. Keep going.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool, and it's been a really cool journey. And I think that we're on the right path. People are speaking more. People are talking about mental health more, as they should. People are feeling more safe talking about it. We're on the right path. There's just a whole lot of more path to go ahead of us. I think we're heading in the right direction. But I've been blessed. I've been blessed to talk to really cool people. Right?
Well, and you put a lot of work in to make that happen. So you started Uptalk on your own. Yeah. And you've been doing these interviews, and then it got acquired by a larger podcast company, right?
Well, it's a network. So I got invited to be a part of the Mental Health News Radio Network, which is an online network of well over 30 different mental health shows.
Cool.
Just runs the range of mental health issues. And we have an international audience of over 6.5 million.
Wow.
That's when things probably really took off, really started to take off. And I'm just really lucky again and blessed to be part of that. Kristen Walker, who's the CEO of that. It's based in the States. She's been awesome to me and has included Uptalk in the lineup. I'm really blessed to have good sponsors. The Tema Foundation, which is based in Halifax. It's a national organization run by the Conter family, and WGM Psychological Services, which is based out of Calgary, a national psychologist practice based in Calgary. They're also a sponsor. I've just been really lucky just to be hooked up with cool people.
Yeah.
Right?
People that support, though. They believe in what, it's people, it's hard to convince people, but one thing it's not hard to convince people about now is mental health. Mental health, people are taking it serious now, which it's good. It's important. And it's because of people like you doing that, talking about it. It's so important to talk, man. So I commend you so much for doing what you're doing.
No, thank you, brother. It's my pleasure, and you're right. As I was telling John there when you got up there, it was just people are talking about it more. People are feeling more safe. We're definitely headed in the right direction, but we have a lot more work to do.
It's really about education, right? Like the more people are educated, and the more people know that it's a real thing, and then if you know that your friends understand it's a real deal, you're going to be more likely to be like, "Hey, man, I think I might have this. What's going on?" Where before they'd be like, "Get out of here," and by you educating and I think too, because you have the personal experience, the questions you're able to ask, the insight you can provide. It's like a coach that has never fought, coaching a fighter, compared to a coach that's fought a bunch and has that experience and insight as well.
Yeah.
No, I think you're totally right. It's certainly helped me, and it helps me to relate to my guests. It's just it's been great. I mean, and then like I say, we're in season 5 now. I had committed to about 18 episodes this season, but it looks like I'm probably going to have over 30 episodes.
Wow.
So which for me is my biggest of the season, because it takes a lot out. Like these episodes are kind of exhausting for me because it's just talking about it is kind of, even though I don't mind talking about it at all, talk about anything, but it's a little bit exhausting. It takes a little bit out of me at the time. But that's going to be awesome. And I think it's just going to get bigger and better. When I started this, I don't know this for sure, but I did an extensive search, and I don't think there was a mental health, first responder mental health podcast available at the time. But now there's dozens and dozens. And that's, just a credit to everybody who's just willing to talk. Right.
Yeah.
We're just dealing with
But I'll tell you like something. I have a funny story for you because I'll tell you. We'll switch gears a little bit. So a funny fight story. Okay. So John mentioned I was thankfully for John and Abaya who have been sort of an anchor for me, whether he knows it or not, through for many years. So originally started as a when John started to have some fighters, came on as a cut man because of my paramedic experience, which was wicked, which was awesome, loved it.
Great.
And then that transitioned into trying to be a referee.
You were a great referee, man. I really
I wasn't until I wasn't.
Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about that. But
I think I know where you're going with that one.
Yeah. So here's the funny story, and I did about I think I refereed about 70 to 80 amateur and professional fights, and because of my paramedic career, I think it gave me a little bit of insight as to the anatomy and physiology of injuries.
Yeah.
And because I did have the jiu-jitsu knowledge, I knew when things went to the ground, when someone was in trouble, when they weren't in trouble.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing.
Which was the biggest thing probably when you were refereeing, because most of the other referees had never even probably watched a jiu-jitsu class or match.
Right. Yeah. It's a big deal, right? It means a lot to the fighters.
Absolutely.
So, and I could also tell because of my paramedic experience, you get to learn what someone looks like when they're hurt and when they're not hurt. So that was going well. I loved it until April 23rd, 2016. And I know recently you had Adam Hunter on.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam Hunter is part of the story. So I'm in Moncton at the Moncton Casino, and I'm refereeing the main event. And it's Adam Hunter and Bruno Lorette.
Oh man.
And Bruno is like the hometown guy in Moncton. Crowd's all there for him. And Adam was like the villain in this, totally. Mm-hmm. So I'm good. I have my fighter meetings, and the commission's all like bent out of shape because somehow Adam put on like 18 pounds overnight, like for rehydrating. So he came in at like he was almost like 220 pounds. I could have that wrong, but for some reason the commission was really worried about this. They even came up to me and pulled me aside and said, "Hey, like really keep an eye on this fight because we're worried about the amount of damage that Adam might be able to do to Bruno." Now, I didn't put a whole lot of weight in that.
Well, 18 pounds is not uncommon even at bantamweight.
No, it's not. For some reason, they were really focused on that.
Probably because, anyway.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So,
but
I sort of put that aside. Like, I'll do the fights like I always do the fights. So, the fight starts, and these two guys are warriors, man. It's a great fight. First round is awesome. We get into the second round, and they end up against the cage, and Bruno's on his back, and Adam's standing up, and Bruno has a hold of one of Adam's legs, and Adam starts hammer fisting him. Series of hammer fists. And I see Bruno's head bounce off the mat 3 times from these hammer fists. All right, so I go in and I stop the fight. I've seen enough. It's the back of his head. I'm trying to protect the fighters. Anyway, and then shit got real. Like, it went down. The crowd erupted. They were throwing things in the ring, water bottles. Bruno's corner man threw a water bottle at me around the cage. It was chaotic. It was really, really bad. And I had to have security came in the cage and stood with me, and I couldn't leave the cage. I remember
you telling me about this, man. Like,
not worth it.
It was ridiculous. But I understand. I mean, they're fight fans, and they probably had 1 or 2 drinks by that point.
Mm-hmm.
And
one of the things Hubert Earl is very good at is understanding the seriousness of a large crowd that is watching fights because it is such an emotional sport. And he hammered down on that when we did our card and made sure it was very possible.
How many fights we still had? Crazy.
Very important. I mean, that from the commission side, which I don't really. I mean, it's nice, but from the commission side, they were pleased with the stoppage. Of course, everybody else was not. So it doesn't stop there, though. So I'm in the cage for like 20 minutes. I get out of the cage, and I'm trying to get, and they're escorting me to my vehicle to get the hell out of there. And it's one of the few times in my adult life that I'm actually scared.
Yeah.
Like, this is interesting. Okay. So this sweet little old lady taps me on the shoulder, and I stop. And she asked me if I speak French, and I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And she said, I'm Bruno's mom, Bruno's mother. And I just want you to know that you should be thoroughly embarrassed that you ruined my son's life.
Jumping Lord.
And I'm sitting and I'm listening to this, and I went, but she's a mom, right? She's sticking up for her kid.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh,
Yeah.
I put my hand on her shoulder, and I leaned forward to her, and I said, ma'am, I said, I saved your son's brain. That's what I'm in there to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was so surreal. Like, I'll never forget that. And also at the time, 2016, I was still really sick. This triggered a lot of PTSD stuff for me.
That must have been very difficult.
It was crazy. I got in my vehicle. I just sat there for like half an hour and just trying to go through this. But, but that's the fight game. We see, the fights that just happened. Obviously, there's some early stoppage questions.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Looking back, who knows? It could have been an early stoppage, or maybe not. But you have to use your judgment.
You do, and you have to make a serious judgment on a split second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Adam Hunter can hit you 5 more times in 2 more seconds.
Yeah, that's right.
You may never get up from that. The guy's a monster. Like, he's
a monster, and so is Bruno. And
yeah, he is. But still, like an unconscious guy or someone who's taking shots like that, like it's not. That's tough, man. Being a referee or a judge is just so unforgiving.
Yeah, it was wild. You stop at one shot too early and save the guy, or one shot too late, and he has brain damage. What do you do?
Exactly.
Yeah, very, very tough. And that, we got to wrap things up here. We got to move on to our third guest here, Sean.
Perfect, yes.
I got to thank you very much for joining us, man. We got to get you on here for a longer time.
We do.
I'd love to.
Chat, more in depth about fights and reffing and that kind of stuff. But thanks again for joining us. Everybody, make sure you get out there and join the Uptalk podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and
Twitter. All Uptalk podcasts. Guys, listen, I want to thank you for the invitation. It's been a pleasure being here. John, it's awesome to see you.
Awesome to see
Derek,
you.
Great seeing you. I just want to say you guys do an awesome job. It doesn't surprise me at all. You guys started this whole Fight League Atlantic. Did not surprise me.
Nice.
I watched the first card from here in Fort McMurray.
I remember.
It was awesome. Uptalk actually sponsored Ryan Potter.
Yeah,
and thanks for doing that.
It was wicked. You guys are doing great work. I'm sure there's going to be great things to come. And if I'm ever home at the same time as a card, I'd love to help out in any way.
Hell yes.
Awesome. Well, we're honored, my man. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks for the kind words and lots of love to you out west, my man.
Thanks, brother.
All right. There you have it, folks. Sean Conohan. All right.
Guy.
Yeah, what a guy. Good guy. Great guy. Second guest of the night. Fantastic. First as well. Let's finish it off with a bang, John. We got our 50th episode here. I know both of us have been looking pretty forward to this. A guy that both of us grew up watching. An absolute legend in my eyes. A legend of the UFC. A legend of the fight game. Chris the Crippler Leben. Excited, John?
I'm very excited for this one. Actually, I'm more nervous for this guest than I think I have been.
Nerves. Not going to beat us up, promise.
Yeah,
let's bring it on here, folks.
Oh, this guy's the best.
Mr. Leben, how are you, sir?
Hey, what up, guys?
Awesome, man. Thanks for joining us.
All right, what up, guys? Hey, thanks for having me.
Wow. Hey, man.
we're starstruck. How's things out in your way? You're out in California, right? Sacramento area? No, San Diego.
San Diego. So I'm about as far south as you can get. Probably warmer than where you're at, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would imagine. We had snow here a couple of days ago.
Not shit we can do. It's a nice day outside. It's hot, so that's nice because the only thing.
No. We're having a little audio issue there, folks. Hopefully that'll come right back.
You guys there?
Yeah, we're still here.
We're
yeah.
here.
Sorry about that.
Are you guys there? Did I lose you?
No,
We're
can you hear us still?
Yeah, this is so frustrating. Are you guys there?
We're still here.
Fuck, man. Sorry.
No, man, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We can still hear you if you're good. We're good.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, don't worry about that. It's all good. Yeah, so you're obviously it's hard, you can't do anything, you can't teach, you can't train, you can run, go to the beach. I saw you obviously happy birthday to your wife, happy belated.
Oh, happy birthday, honey. Thank you. She says thank you.
Yeah, of course. So what obviously you teach at the arena. Are you still doing that?
Well, I mean, obviously there's no classes right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gyms are all shut down, so it's a little bit of a struggle, especially for me because training is kind of like my therapy, and
Yeah.
without
A lot of people online here, folks. We're having some audio issues here with Mr. Leben. Well, looks like we may or may have not lost Chris. Hang tight here, folks. We're just having some audio issues. A lot of people online here at the moment. So obviously he's out in California. We did have the tin can set up to all the way to Nova Scotia, but our end's not working right. Chris, you still?
Maybe that.
what is going on? I'm
Hey!
sorry, man. I don't know what it is.
No, you're good. It's you're,
You guys, you got me?
We
yeah,
got you.
we're good. You're talking to Nova Scotia, man. We're still in dial-up internet up here.
I swear I paid my internet bill.
No,
I don't know.
it's
I
us,
don't
man.
know what's
It's our
going on,
end.
I really don't. But yeah, yes. So just struggling,
Motherfucker. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, you said it, man.
I'll say it. Fuck.
Motherfucker. God damn it.
That's it, man. Well, yeah, it's again, like you said, man, for everybody. It's for me, training is
Is there?
Mhm.
Can I?
yeah,
Okay, I got you.
yeah.
I mean, I got. It says I got full bars on my phone, so I mean, or full internet. So
Yeah, I think it's
you know what I think it is everybody in California is on the internet right now. Everybody's fucking
Yeah.
streaming Netflix, and there's just no bandwidth.
Yeah, 100%, man. We've actually seen the difference up here in the evenings with everybody streaming shows and that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's at home
nothing to do.
watching their TV.
Nothing else to do, man. Do you guys have any kind of indication when you'll be able to reopen or start training in small groups or anything like that?
What's
Do you
that?
guys have any idea, like, if there's been any indication to when your gyms are going to open back up, or if you're going to be able to start training in small groups or any of that stuff?
We got that freaking super liberal governor, and he'd probably keep us locked down forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. They really haven't said. I mean, my opinion, is, hey, listen, man, we get staph. You get staph infection in the gym all the time, and that kills people too. It's, you're gonna take, if you're worried about the risks, if you have a compromised immune system, obviously,
Stay home.
don't go train.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't do it. Don't do it. But I think that people should have the choice, personally.
Mm-hmm. I think with the fight gyms, especially, like, there's 25, 30 people there at a time. Maybe like your gym's a lot bigger than what we're dealing with, but still, it's not like there's 1,000 people packed in there, and everyone should know what's going on with hygiene and this and that by now.
Everybody's in good shape too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what they don't see. I mean, listen, if I would have spent the last 6 weeks sitting on my couch ordering Domino's, guess what's going to happen when I walk outside to the world? Guess what your immune system is just like a muscle, man. You got to strengthen it,
Yeah, so
healthy
true.
young people should be out there. Unfortunately, I'm no freaking doctor, but I would imagine that healthy young people need to eventually get this, you know, so that
I see what you're
we can
saying.
start to establish some sort of herd, you know.
No, it's true.
So let them get out there.
It's interesting you bring that up because with everybody,
you know, this, I'm sure there was a coronavirus when the dinosaurs were around.
yeah,
You know,
that's right.
like, they probably got sick from it too. You can't hide from microbes, man. You know.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. You know, I'm sure
I agree
somebody's
with
gonna
you.
get on here hating me for. How dare you say that? How dare you? You're killing old people by going outside. You know.
Yeah.
But that's not what you mean too, right? So that's like anybody that, like, in my opinion, anybody that has that kind of attitude, like, that's obviously not what we want. But you have to have some sort of fucking normalcy too, right?
That's it, man. You know, I think, you know, that everybody's stuck at home in front of their TVs, and the fact is, fear sells. You know, you know, that media is just beating it down their throat. You know, the danger, the fear. Well, a lot of people die driving cars every year. You know, we still got to go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very true.
You risk your life every time you drive to work. You know.
Mm-hmm. And well, you mentioned the immunity thing too. Like, if we're all stuck at home, your immune system's got to be degrading all this time, right? But once we are all put back into society, are we all going to have a weakened immune system and everybody's going to get sick with whatever? Hard to say, right?
That's exactly my point. They're not going to be able to fight off anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they've even said that one of the best medicines for this is sunlight.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that makes
you
sense.
Got to get out. You got to get in the sun.
Vitamin
Don't get
D.
me wrong. You can't drink bleach and stand under a UV light to cure yourself. Okay, people. Like, but you know what?
Yeah.
Getting out and like letting the sun on your skin. You know, especially this time of year, man.
Yeah.
Especially you guys. You only get the sun a couple months a year.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fucking translucent. I could be my curtains right now. All you can see is just headphones.
Just a blowout. Yeah, man. I guess you guys are probably immune with the weather down there. Jealous of that for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, John.
I was just say, I'm assuming you're still talking with BKFC with Bare Knuckle. Have they thought about doing shows without crowds by any chance? Is that something you've been hearing from other promotions?
Dave, can you hear that?
I heard this is they just signed Mike Tyson.
Is that real?
Yeah, I heard that.
See, I heard he was coming back and all this and that. I just thought it was promotion for something.
That's my angle too, man. I don't believe shit until I see it happen.
Yeah,
you know?
same.
But you know, apparently from the people I talked to, you know, yeah, and I mean, they offered him like $20 million, and financially it makes sense. I mean, you know the pay-per-views they're gonna get. Are you kidding me? You know how many pay-per-views that guy sells? Like unprecedented, you know. So.
Well, they're putting the videos out now showing him hitting the pads to get everyone pumped up. I'm like, shit, he still got it or whatever, right? And then they start to believe that, fuck, maybe he can still fight. And then next thing you know,
scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, man.
Well, I wouldn't fight that guy if he had no limbs or a head. I'd be like, fuck that.
Yeah.
27, 47, 54. However, he's dangerous.
No doubt.
Yeah.
At least for that, you know, that first 30 seconds, man, he's still got, you know, the power's the last thing to go, you know.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous first 30 seconds for anybody.
Yeah, unquestionable.
What you think of the fights this weekend?
Good. The undercard was action-packed, was great. Gaethje's a stud. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was incredible. What a performance.
Ferguson would hit him with something, and you'd be like, okay, he's about to turn it on, and then boom.
Yeah.
Gaethje would just answer right back and stop the onslaught, you know? Pretty incredible. I think when I was in the waiting room, I heard you guys talking about stoppages with that other gentleman.
That's right.
I take it that was the Cruz
Yeah,
fight that
Cerrito
brought that up.
Cruz. I'm assuming Derek was referring
No,
to that
no,
one.
he was talking the ref. He was talking about he was a ref. He was talking about a local promotion.
Yeah, we did mention though the UFC stoppage, and that's the
Oh,
one I
sorry.
was referring to. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm a ref as well. You know, I ref for California down here. I work with I'm in the amateurs right now.
Yeah.
You know, the goal obviously is to work my way up. You know,
It's awesome to see guys with your experience doing that, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's necessary in my opinion.
You know, and number one, as a referee, our number one responsibility is fighting safety.
Yeah.
You know, you want to give a fighter every chance in the world. You really do, especially a title fight. That being said, man, you're making split-second decisions that can change those guys hit so hard. They can do so much damage so quickly.
Yeah.
To stop a fight, I mean, would I have stopped it? Probably. You know, he took a huge knee. He took a bunch of shots.
Yeah.
Anyone, if it would have been another knee coming in, something really damaging could have been coming next. Was Dominic Cruz on his way up? Yeah. Is it a tough call? Yeah, it is. Is it a way on that one? I don't think either. I think letting it go or not letting. I wouldn't say either one would have been wrong per se. I don't think he was wrong.
Yeah.
Would I have liked to see it go? As a fan, of course I would have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a fan, I want to see him keep fighting. You know, but that's not how things work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, fight.
I gotta say, you know, I was, you know, and I'm not a professional athlete. I don't know what it's like in there, Chris, to lose, obviously, and lose in that situation. It was interesting to see what Dominic said. Really, that he smelled like booze and cigarettes. I was like,
oh yeah, that was pretty rough. That was uncalled for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a valid argument. You know,
Yeah.
how could I be out if I'm on my way up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's a valid argument. But see, this is the thing about fighting, and this is why refs a lot of time don't get enough credit. There's always a winner. There's always a loser. And there's one other guy to point the finger at. You know what I mean? Like, so.
True enough.
You gotta have thick skin to be a ref. That's just the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a thankless job.
You know, maybe he's right. Maybe, you know, maybe not. I don't think anybody with the commission gets mad about that.
No,
stoppage,
I think you're right.
You know,
he did take a bunch of shots. I mean, once Keith Peterson started stepping in, it's like he was already in the action of stopping him when he started the action of getting up. You know, raised within.
So I lost. You're breaking up a little bit there. What was that last part?
Oh, sorry, man. I said it was almost like when Keith Peterson started the action of stopping the fight was when Cruz started the action of getting up. So it was such a razor thin moment in time to either switch direction or So, I mean, what are you gonna do? He was off for 3 years.
You don't get to take that back as a ref. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whatever decision you make, you gotta stick to it. Yeah. And he did that. He went in there and stopped the fight. You know, Dominic Cruz was unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen him. I feel like the way that Dana walked in behind Dominic after he like they were going to call out a rematch, and then all of a sudden, retired.
Nope, I'm out. Yeah.
Dominic just kind of pats him on the back and walks out.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah, that's got to sting after such a long layoff. I thought the other one.
That's what was going on right there.
Yeah. I thought Cowboy got robbed too. Not to like stick on the card, but Cowboy and Pettis, I thought Cowboy had that hands down.
What
I was saying with the Pettis Cowboy decision. Yeah.
is that? Cowboys? Ooh,
Sorry.
you guys there?
Yep.
Yeah, we're losing you again. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, Pettis looked good, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought
He looked
You
good.
know,
I thought
I-
Cowboy did enough with the takedowns and with just overall aggression, backing it up, hitting, landing good strikes.
it was close. It was
Yeah.
it was a good fight. It was a really good fight. I wonder what's going to happen to Cowboy now.
Yeah.
You know, that was almost like a kind of a winner stays scenario.
I felt like that too. It was almost like a turning point fight for whoever won and lost.
You know,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that was the case, but I kind of felt like that matchup was kind of like, all right, one of you guys gets the win and stay. You know, so we'll see what happens. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows?
maybe.
They're both legends, man, much like yourself, too. But we don't want to take too much of your time. I want to call you Mr. Leben. That's how much respect I have for you. It's not Chris to us. It's Tyler Van Kill. I got to give a shout out to him. He connected us here. He's a hell of a kid. I know you spent some time training with him, and you spend a lot of time with young athletes like that. Any final words for young athletes before we get out of here?
What was that last part?
Just any advice for athletes like Tyler, or even amateurs coming up there? How do they keep to that level?
Tyler did the right thing. He surrounded himself with established high-level people. And as a young athlete, obviously easier said than done. But, my advice is iron sharpens iron. Put yourself around the best, the most experienced, the most competitive guys or girls that you can find.
Yeah, very true.
Because you guys raise each other up, and Tyler had a great team of guys down here. The other coaches on the fight team, Barrett Yoshida for his submissions, and in that environment, he had the opportunity to excel.
Yeah.
So you got to have the right catalyst. You got to have the right people around you, more so than anything else. Even if you have all the drive and determination in the world,
You need people at that level.
if you don't have the what was that?
Just sorry to cut you off. You were saying you can have all the skill level, but you need to have people better than you to bring you higher, to push you, eh?
Like you can have all the determination in the world, but without the proper training partners, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Make the move. If you're training in your garage, get to a club. If you're training with people that you need to get skills, go to a club. Reach out to people like Mr. Leben, reach out to people and better those skills, man. But we got to thank you for joining us. It's an honor for myself and John here. We're a little promotion in Nova Scotia, and
Thank you, Chris.
fans forever. So thanks so much for joining us.
I apologize for my internet. Thanks for dealing with me.
No,
Hey, man.
I think
Thank
it's
you.
awesome. There you have it, folks. Mr. Chris Leben. Very cool. Very cool.
Well, yeah, it's too bad with the audio on that, but what a gracious guy, obviously, willing to stick it out and do his best with us there. So yeah, man,
fantastic. What a hell of a guy, and an absolute warrior. It's neat. That's why you do kind of these things. It's for us. We're lifelong fans, and I think it's cool to reach out to these people. We've all spent so much time in the mat training and stuff, but when you can talk to somebody just like on a regular level, it's pretty cool. And to get advice from those kind of people, it's priceless kind of stuff, right? So it's an honor to have him for sure. Bucket list stuff. Cool. Yeah,
man.
Cool.
Good
it's very
50,
cool,
bro.
Yeah, little Nova Scotia. Here we are, a little province north of Maine in Nova Scotia, Canada. But we're kicking it up. Big school here in the Nova Scotia boy. Doing it right, as they say.
That's it. Best kind.
Best kind. Anyway, folks, it's episode 50. Let's wrap it up. Thanks to our sponsors, Conway Customs and Privateers Harley Davidson. That's 50 episodes. We're on tomorrow night we got a kind of a local roundup with some jiu-jitsu and club owners from the local Maritimes here to talk about the scene. And Kent Peters, I think John Kelly, Jared McIntosh, Josh Whalen, John. We're going to kind of talk about the local jiu-jitsu scene and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, anything to add, John?
That's it, man. That was great. That was really fun, and really just appreciate these guys coming on and talking to us and giving us some insight into what they're doing, and what's going on in their neck of the woods, and yeah. That's it. Really
That's it. Stay tuned every night, folks. Tomorrow night we'll be back with another episode, 6:30. Thanks to all our fans. Thanks to our sponsors. If you can be anything in this world, be kind.
Be kind. Thanks,
and be
everybody.
one of those 100,000 viewers.
Cheers, bro.